2. Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Certainly one of the wild little benefits of this Lamar Jackson train is getting out and reading all the national reports on Lamar Jackson. I'm sure very few people were watching in live real time as Lamar Jackson with a 30-point lead ran all around the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Jason Gay writes for the Wall Street Journal. He's been there for a decade. He's New York-based. And I tell you what, when Lamar Jackson is doing these spinoramas and making this magic happen, lots of people are noticing. Jason Gay wrote a piece, "Stop what you're doing and watch Lamar Jackson." Jason, what's going on, man? How are things in New York other than bad football here this week, right?
Yeah, you guys are in a lot better position than either of the Jets or the Giants. If you combine those two teams, I don't think they could give the Ravens a run for their money right now.
Well, you cover the big picture of sports, and when something hits someone's desk like yourself, and we've noticed a little bit more of this on the national side this week when you have that kind of a play, and Harbaugh went over to the bench and said that kind of play is going to change your life, said that in the aftermath, and lo and behold, guys from the Wall Street Journal are noticing Lamar Jackson. So give me your thoughts. I mean, you've covered sports for a living. Much like the rest of us, you probably saw the green jacket a year and a half ago, and the Ravens dealt into the first round. And here we are. We're going to change our entire offense and run the ball with our quarterback.
Yeah, I think that Lamar, when he was actually about to do that spin move on Nick Vigil, he thought, you know what, I might get into the Wall Street Journal, so I'm going to do this spin right here on the field. Look, I'm not telling anybody in Baltimore what they don't already know, which is that they have something very special in Lamar Jackson. And I think the reason why this weekend with the Cincinnati game sort of felt like an exclamation point was because it followed, a very impressive win over New England. That really announced the Ravens as a formidable threat. And also Jackson is very much, a quarterback who can go shoulder to shoulder with some of the best in the game. And, now he's just accumulating numbers and highlights at kind of an MVP rate. And this is not a Baltimore story anymore. He's kind of the most entertaining thing to watch in the NFL right now. And you're right that, Cincinnati is not exactly must-see television for a Sunday afternoon. But when Lamar Jackson is involved, I think you're going to have more and more eyeballs on him because you really don't know what you're going to get play to play, and that's what makes them such a pleasure to watch.
Well, that's why you watch them play an 0-9 football team with a 30-point lead, because you might see something you'll never see again. I certainly felt that way when the play happened. I'm in the press box, and you've been in a million press boxes. There was laughters, there was, oh my God, there was holy-ish, there was like light applause, there was, oh my God, there was all of that going on in a press box. I've been doing this 35 years. You don't hear those sort of sounds up there very often.
No, and you're right. And I think that sometimes we get a little disconnected from the fundamental reasons why we like to watch sports. I mean, we watch it because of those moments of joy, right? Some of us might have a little bit of money riding on it, fantasy football stats. We like to argue about trades and deals that didn't happen and coaching mistakes. And goodness knows there's been a tremendous amount of chat about coaching challenges and replays and referee mistakes and so on. But fundamentally, I think what people really still enjoy about the game is watching moments like that one. And, yeah, that's what makes you laugh. That's what makes you scream at the television, stand up on your feet. That is what it's all about. And I think that the fact that you can have it in Baltimore, a place that, let's face it, with this Ravens franchise, it's traditionally been a defense-first team. Just get a couple of scores on the board and let the defense do the rest. This is the number one offense in football. They put close to 60 on the board opening week, and they really haven't taken their foot off the pedal since.
Well, and it's really a tribute to Eric DeCosta and Ozzie Newsome and John Harbaugh and the whole organization to zig left when everyone else is zigging right. This was not popular a year and a half ago. I think it wasn't all that popular this summer. And even in the aftermath, Jason, I get on the airplane coming back from Cincinnati, and it's full of people wearing purple like myself. We've all got Lamar fever, and I've got my Thriller shirt with Lamar Jackson's face on Michael Jackson's body. And so we're all kind of catching on to this. But then there's the sobering part where I start to talk to national writers like yourself, and I talked to Dave Sheinin a little earlier from the Washington Post, who wrote the book on RG3, who's now the backup quarterback and part of the three-headed monster. There still is this part where, He's 6'3". He's 215. He's running into, hopefully not Haloti Nada this time, but you get what I'm saying. There's only so many runs into a scrum you're going to make when you're an NFL player at any position.
Yep, and I think that that's a fair concern, and I heard a lot of that even yesterday writing about this, or rather earlier in the week writing about this, that, look, haven't we seen elements of this before in an RG3, certainly in a Michael Vick, and a multifaceted player who can do as much damage with his feet as he can with his arm, but it doesn't diminish the joy that watching Lamar Jackson gives you right now when he's fit and healthy and playing as well as he's playing. And I do think the reason why I think the reason why there's some optimism around Jackson is that he doesn't have to do it strictly on his feet. He doesn't have to do this completely as a runner. There's no question that his ability to run opens up his ability to pass, so having that dual threat is a really important thing. But I don't think if push came to shove and you said, Lamar, you can't run anymore, that you're somehow looking at an inept quarterback. I think he's shown himself to be a vastly improved passer this past season. And, I think that they will be very rational about deploying that as the season progresses and certainly as the playoffs go. I mean, you don't really have to go terribly far back to look for evidence of this or find evidence of how things have changed. I mean, consider the Patriots. I mean, the whole Belichick era, the secret of Belichick is sort of taking away strengths, right, and saying, you're not going to beat me with X this given week. And for Baltimore to go into New England, Lamar to play, or rather, New England to go into Baltimore and for Lamar to play as well as he played and sort of manage the game as well as he played, and maybe not have some sort of human highlight reel performance, but do enough to win. And Baltimore would have won that game even more decisively had it not been for a couple of really bad turnovers early in that game. It really showed something. It showed something about his maturity as a quarterback, his leadership as a quarterback. And I do think that the fears, they're never going to go away. Anytime you have somebody in the backfield or running through the backfield, running into the line of scrimmage, you're going to have those kinds of concerns. But I do think he's a little different.
I hope he falls wisely. Jason Gay is a sports columnist at the Wall Street Journal, also a humor columnist, and bringing some humor into this. Certainly, we're provincial around here, bro. We have a baseball team that loses 100 games every year, and an owner that doesn't care and pockets the money and then sues the Nationals, and the Nationals win the World Series, and we're watching parades down there. This is our little moment in the sun when a guy like you comes along and says he wants a channel of Lamar, all Jackson all the time in a lead. We're sort of provincial in the way that nobody loves us here in Baltimore, and they love the Steelers more, and they love the Patriots more, and all that stuff. We're having a hard time getting this sort of attention in November. We're not used to this around here, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I have to confess, I married into a Baltimore family. My wife is from Baltimore.
Attaboy.
Most of her family.
You married well. You married up, obviously.
And I'm quite aware of how passionate people are about the Ravens, and certainly about the glory days of the Colts. Especially in my wife's family. And I get it. I get the fact that the city feels like, all right, we're never going to get the kind of glory that a Dallas gets, or a Pittsburgh Steelers get, or the New England Patriots get. But it's a pretty, widely appreciated franchise, I think. I think people respect what the Ravens have been able to accomplish, the fact that they do have 2 Super Bowl championships, the fact that they have kind of stood for something, as a franchise, which is kind of the hard work and the grit and how that's reflective of the city. Yeah, it's not as big a town as, a major metropolis like a New York or, L.A. But look, New York would happily trade football places with Baltimore right now. I can guarantee you that.
I'm wearing my Keep Preakness in Baltimore pin here, so, I'm fully up on all this. Jason, for you, the rest of the league and where it is, the Steelers, I say they're the snakefish of the NFL. They just eat everything in the water, and we're winning and feeling real good, making highlights and beating up on Cincinnati. They still win too, and I know taking care of business at the end of the year will be part of that. But the Ravens have Deshaun Watson this week, a Monday night
Yeah.
road trip out to L.A. and national TV with the Rams. They come home to play the formerly undefeated San Francisco 49ers. They go to Buffalo. This is a really rough little stretch before we put the turkey in the oven and eat the leftovers of the pumpkin pie here. This is going to be a nice little stretch. The Steelers are still lurking even with a third-string quarterback in a defense. They never go away.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. Aren't you a little bit? I didn't think that Mason Rudolph was going to help them reel off a win streak like they've just put together. And I agree. They're doing it with defense, but doing just enough offensively to, stay in the mix here. And I thought they were, dead in the water at Snakefish 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. But you kind of like it. You want to see it. I mean, the Ravens, the fans, I think, would admit that. It wouldn't be the same if they didn't have to go through at least something of a competitive Steeler team.
No. We won a 3-13 there. Ask your wife. Just 1-3-13, a 4-12, somewhere in there. I mean, a year Roethlisberger gets hurt in
now
week
you
3.
sound like a Patriots fan. The Patriots fans have been feasting on the chum of the AFC East for a generation. So, you've been in a much more competitive division for a very long time. But you're right. This is a tough stretch coming up. And I think the thing that, you can tell with this club is that they're not going to get unsettled by, a few knocks here and there. It's probably not going to run through this next stretch undefeated. You're probably going to drop one of these games. I think they have the ability to bounce back. They've shown that already this season. They've had a couple of weird losses in there. The fact that they can come back is a good sign.
Well, the Harbaugh thing, this time last year, he was under fire, the job, and this and that. And, it really is amazing how the wind can blow. Look at Mahomes. Look at Kansas City right now, and their boat's been rocked a little bit as well. It's tough being the MVP and coming back and having to play.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard, and I do feel like these things are incredibly volatile, and as a lot of the sort of worry around Jackson seems to be that, look, you can't trust what's going to happen a month from now. Appreciate what you have right now, Nestor. Well,
we do, and we appreciate the fact that the Redskins are 1-8 as well. So that's also a Baltimore tradition, as I know you know through your wife.
Bezos, it seems like all of D.C., everyone I know in D.C., is bananas about the fact that, Amazon gazillionaire Jeff Bezos is interested in buying an NFL club, which everyone in D.C. is now hoping will be their club, and that Bezos will overpay Dan Snyder for it, and, take them, rename the Washington Prime or something crazy like that, and return Washington to its former glory.
Dan Snyder can never win a Super Bowl unless he owns the team. So that right there probably disqualifies anyone else from playing along. Jason Gay is he's playing along. You can find him out on Twitter at Jason Gay as well as at the Wall Street Journal. I want to take it out of the toy department, just give you one little chance to stretch out here a little bit, because you write humor, you write about the world, you write about Trump, you write about Jets fans with bags on their heads and the World Series, and you have a very interesting gig in that sort of sports but sort of not. You have one of the more interesting jobs in America, I think.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, look, no one's picking up the Wall Street Journal in the morning saying, what was the score of the game last night, or how do I put together my fantasy football team? We are not somebody's first read in the world of sports, so I think it's incumbent on us to be a little different, to be a little quirky. People are usually coming to us for a little bit of a laugh or a breather from the sort of crazy world politics and business affairs that they're typically getting in the Journal. So we have a pretty wide lane here. We have some good editors, of course, and I appreciate that. I think that if we can give people a little bit of a digression from the craziness of their everyday, we're doing well.
Dude, you wrote about Lamar Jackson. You're a hero in my town this week. How about that, all right?
Thanks, Nestor.
Jason Gay joining us here from the Wall Street Journal, and you can find him out on Twitter. Good day to you, and I hope that you're writing more about purple things come January. We should all hope, right?
Appreciate it. Maybe Vikings, Ravens. It'll be a full purple one. Who knows?
Skol! There you go. Jason Gay, Wall Street Journal sports columnist and humor columnist. You can find him out at the Wall Street Journal. You can find me out in the Bayou, Toyota.com, Audio Vault 24 hours a day, spotlighting all of the Lamar mania, not just here in Baltimore, all around the country and all around the football world after the play in Cincinnati. Luke is out on the backfields of Owings Mills all week long, getting you ready for Ravens Houston. We're going to be going down to Houston, talking to some folks down there about all things Texans and Deshaun Watson, as well as getting you ready for a full weekend of football. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.